Hey, what's up, everybody? Time for another game theory video. Remember, if you like the videos, like, sub, silly, comment, share, support the channel. If you can, I appreciate it. Thanks. Super chat, PayPal, Patreon, super like the video, whatever you want to do. I appreciate it. Thanks. So this is one of those very nerdy kind of videos. If you like the nerdy kind of videos where you got to use your imagination, this is the video for you. If you don't like those videos, don't watch this video. But again, one of those videos about how I would change Street Fighter if I had the opportunity to make my own Street Fighter, right? I don't like all this homogenization of games. I want to give it a unique system that actually shows off the characters, that they use it in a unique, non-homogenized way. And if you're thinking about just the basis of combos and everything and juggles and all that kind of stuff, I hate games that have all these kind of juggles, all that kind of stuff. So I wouldn't want a game that's much more different than a CVS2 or a, Alpha 2. I don't need games to be that much more different in terms of juggles. So none of this King of Fighter crapola, right? But what would I do? And I've said one of the things before is one of the things that I do think is good about Street Fighter 6, and I've said I would do it if I was making my own Street Fighter, is distinguishing, differentiating, having a super bar different from a bar that is your versatile meter, right? Because too often in games, when the super meter is tied to also EX moves and all this versatile usages of stuff, the versatile usages of meter outweigh using the super. And so that's one of the quotation marks good things about Street Fighter 6 is that these meters are not tied together. And I've said before, and we'll talk about again, that is something that I would do, right? And I've said, so we got 2 bars of super. Not every super needs a level 1, level 2, level 3. So you have level 1 supers, and then some characters have level 3 supers, whatever, right? And the versatile meter, I've said before, let's say we have these 5 little orbs up here, right? 5 little orbs up here. Wow, look at that. What a straight line. You know what? My hands are jank. Whatever. Let's say you only start off with 3 flashing orbs, right? But every time you lose a round, maybe you get a couple orbs back, or maybe you only get 1 orb back, whatever, seeing the balancing point, right? But this versatile meter is extremely important because it leads to a lot of the unique stuff in the game. And what is one of the unique things, right, when you start off the bat? Well, as long as you have 3 bars that are flashing, although you can take block damage, although you can take guard meter damage, you won't actually die from block damage, even though you'll be taking it. You also, although your guard can be being crushed, your guard won't actually be crushed. And why would something like this be in place? Because if I was making a game, I am totally fine with there being dizzy combos, touch of death sort of combos. But this throws in just a little bit of padding. So if it's the first round and say a character hits you with a dizzy combo right off the bat, whatever it might be, if your character falls down and then someone goes, say Ryu, he comes up to you and he's going to dragon punch to kill you for block damage, well, because you never had a chance to use any of your versatile meter, you won't actually die from that. So that's a little bit of a helping out hand for people. But again, so you start off with 3 little flashing orbs, and then these 2 are empty. But if you lose the next round, fills up with an orb or 2. If you lose the next round, whatever, that kind of thing, right? 3rd round, you get another. Anyway, so how do you use this meter, right? Well, one of the gimmicks of the game, and I've said this before, is I would have this little cancel system, right? Let's say just like this, Ryu's doing a little charge cancel. Let's say that's Ryu's jump little kick, but imagine he's doing a cancel in there. But this is extremely expensive, but it's tied to the most gimmicks of the game. Because again, this is a game where not everything juggles. Not every move just juggles, okay? You got to make it special. And so when you cancel your special move, or a command normal, or I would say an auto combo also counts as something special, you have the ability to cancel it, okay? Right? Not every normal, not every character just drive rushes off of everything, not every character cancels off of everything. It's got to be something that is inherently special to the character, right? And it's got to be a cancel animation, or let's say the cancel animation is a little punch and a little kick. Let's say you can also do a quick cancel, and let's say that's a medium punch and a medium kick. And the only way I say that is because you'll see later on in this video, sometimes if you're to think about it as a mix-up, you don't want any screen freeze. And so then you'd have to roll your fingers across the controller. But 2 meters. Also something this happens for is because, let's say if we're doing a CVS2 cancel, which CVS2 cancel would only take 1 orb, and that's, super to cancel to a special move, or again, a command normal, whatever. One of the problems in CVS2, if you've ever played CVS2, is sometimes when you do these super cancels, CVS2 cancels. Sometimes, as I've showed in my videos, you can pick Akuma or pick Ryu and say I'm doing a super fireball, and oh, I canceled it too soon and it didn't juggle properly. So that would fix the problem. Say something we're doing, like say Adon does a level 1 Jaguar revolver. I think that's what this is called, right? And then you want to do the just frame link with the Jaguar kick. Well, because it's a just frame, if there's no cancel animation in this, you might accidentally waste your bar if this was CVS2. And we don't want something like that to happen. So there's got to be a cancel animation. One can be a screen freeze for however many frames, and one can be just a little whiff thing that doesn't freeze the screen for so many frames just because of mix-up stuff. But anyway, get on to other usages of the meter. Again, you have a CVS2 cancel if you're doing a super to a special move, whatever, that costs a bar. If you do an EX move like this before, I've said before, Ryu doesn't need a thrust kick. Ryu does not need a thrust kick. Just give him one of his EX moves is his EX thrust kick, period. Just like he doesn't need a super hurricane kick. Hate to break it to you. Super hurricane kick can just be a little bit of his EX move. Alpha counter, that can be, maybe it's going to take an orb or two. I'd have to see if I was balancing the game. That's an orb. If you do a super or special move into a super, a la, let's say Street Fighter 3, that costs an orb, right? Although one of the caveats I've said before as well, if your character has a level 3, it costs no orbs to do a special to a super. Also, I've said before, I hate when characters just roll everything. I hate every character being able to delay get up all the time. I actually don't like the idea of like, oh, this is a hard knockdown. This isn't a hard knockdown. I can delay get up this. I hate rolling and alpha, all that kind of stuff. So I would say any kind of stuff like this, if you would do a delay get up, if you do a roll, whatever it is, it costs an orb. You have to hold the fact that you've been hurt. Just like I said before as well, I would add to a little bit, spice it up. So say holding down 3 punches or 2 kicks, whatever gives you a roll or a delay get up. Or I would say as well, characters, they have just a special, unique normal that they can do right when they hit the ground immediately, you know, and say maybe Ryu, just like in the Street Fighter movie, he does his boom, stands up with a roundhouse, and then he does a hurricane kick and give it a little bit of a throwback. Let him do the EX hurricane kick from EX, right? Get it? So very versatile usages of the meter. And even if you don't use it, it's very important to the core idea of the game plan because it keeps you from dying from block damage if you're as long as above 3. Keeps you from getting guard crushed as long as you're above 3, right? But this is the meat and the bones. We're probably like 5 minutes into the video, maybe even longer. 7 minutes. Well, this is the nerdiness. You have to appreciate nerdiness. But let's get into this gimmick of how do you make this actually throw a new perspective on fighting games, okay? And this works because this is a game that is not all about every move juggles, okay? Again, it costs 2 bars. So let's say if we're doing a special move, obviously if we do a dragon punch, nothing juggles after a dragon punch. I can't do another dragon punch. I'm not Akuma. Akuma juggling is special. It is unique to his character. Get rid of this stupid shit like Street Fighter 4. Was it like the Street Fighter 4 Super when they allowed Ryu to do a hurricane kick into Dragon Punch? That's Akuma's thing. Get rid of that shit. So Ryu shouldn't be able to do a hurricane kick into a jab. He shouldn't be able to do a Dragon Punch into a jab. He shouldn't be able to do any of this. None of this shit juggles, okay? However, because of this versatile meter, right? Again, what happens is when you like activate this thing and when you cancel this animation, whatever it is, it gives every move a little asterisk point till it's like little juggle meter, right? So if the move starts at 0 because it can never juggle, it has this asterisk point. And something else that happens when you hit with this move, and let's say that the character has shadows on him. Let's say he has green shadows or some shit like that. He's a Slimer. The next special, whatever move, whatever cancel could be an, you know, could technically be an auto combo or a command normal, whatever. Give it blue shadows like a custom combo purple, whatever you want it to be. And then the next move that hits, that also gets a juggle point that it normally doesn't have. But again, it only goes up to 1. So why do I say this? Because you don't want to have there be situations where, okay, so Ryu, he does a dragon punch. I activate my thing. Now, whatever I cancel this animation with, the next move gets a special property or a juggler property that it normally doesn't. So that means I could Dragon Punch again. But Dragon Punch in the code only is able to get that 1 extra point of juggle. So that means I can't Dragon Punch again, right? So if we go to the next thing. So let's say Ryu does Dragon Punch, right? He cancels it. He then does another Dragon Punch. Well, guess what? Now, again, because I hit the guy and they're put into this special state where anything juggles them as long as you haven't used that extra, freebie. That means that Ryu could do a hurricane kick then. Not a dragon punch, but a hurricane kick, right? Just like vice versa. If Ryu were to do a dragon punch, does his little cancel thing, then he does a shadow hurricane kick, blah, 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 because he's in that special property. I can, now do a dragon punch because the dragon punch still has that one freebie that's allowed, right? Let's go into this, an example. Let's say Ryu does a dragon punch. Maybe even if you're to get your brain working, let's say it's like a Street Fighter Alpha 2, or if you ever played Street Fighter Alpha 2, where Ryu does a medium punch, dragon punch, that dragon punch flies you across the screen. So let's say Ryu does a medium punch, dragon punch, it flies the dude across the screen. Ryu cancels it, and so he throws a fireball. The guy's flying across the screen. Boom, he gets hit by the fireball. Fireball, again, normally doesn't juggle, but because you canceled it like this, now it gets hit by the juggle with the fireball. Well, now, while that fireball's slowly hitting the guy and Ryu's already recovered, I've done a roundhouse hurricane kick. Now, roundhouse hurricane kick is going to juggle because it still has, the guy is put into this state where whatever hit comes next is a freebie, right? What if we do something like this? Ryu does a dragon punch, right? I do my cancel thing. I do a hurricane kick. Well, again, I said it's a freebie. Anything hits now the next time, right? So jab. Normally, jab doesn't combo, right? Normally, jab is not a juggle, but the guy is in this state that now there is a freebie hit for them. Well, since we hit them with that freebie hit, now Ryu does have a move that juggles that is not, it has no rule on it, right? My jump strong juggles no matter what for 2 hits. Now the guy pops up back in the air. I can go back and forth, wait for the guy to fall down, do a little bit of a mix-up. And if you want to know how I would do Ryu's jump medium punch if I was making a game, if the initial hit of Ryu's jump medium punch hits the guy and there's been no combo before, it would be a hard knockdown. But then if you're doing a combo and you do it again, so say if Ryu were to do another jump medium punch, then it just launches the guy and you go back and forth, right? So it has a hard limit of, first hit launches the guy, hard knockdown. Second hit, if you do it again, the guy, they pop up. So in that situation, if you want to do a super fireball, if you're thinking super turbo, I would not have jump, medium punch, super fireball. I would have something like just jump, medium punch, then super fireball, or jump, medium punch, then jump, medium punch, cancel the first hit. And then we've seen before he has a EX hurricane kick. So that would be, if you're wondering how I would do Ryu's jump, medium punch. Let's look at a situation like this, right? Let's say we're doing a combo, right? Super turbo. And I know this video is going to be long. I'm going to show lots of different characters, but let's say Ryu does a jump in roundhouse, hits the guy ducking. Well, super turbo. So you do a rush fierce, hits the guy, duck, medium punch, duck forward, medium kick, red fireball. I cancel, right? Well, guess what? Again, I'm in this state. I can now do a hurricane kick. Hits the guy. Normally doesn't juggle, but because he's going to have these little blue shadows or purple shadows on him, it's going to hit. And then when it hits the guy, then they're put into that state where, again, they still on their hurt tech, their juggle limit, there still is that asterisk meter of 1. So guess what? They can be hit by that. That would be a combo. Just like in that situation, okay, well, maybe I did, again, jump roundhouse, rush fierce, medium, fireball, cancel, hurricane kick. Well, if we're in the corner, hurricane kick, the jab is going to hit. So now I can go back, forth, mix up, right? Do a little bit of shenanigan, right? Maybe this is more powerful, but this is a mix up if I'm trying to win a match, right? Let's say if we do something like this, right? Let's say we do the same combo, right? But let's say when we do the fireball, it hits the guy and they're standing or something like this, right? Let's say it doesn't knock them down. Well, guess what? I've said before, as long as it's something unique, it can't be something that everybody can do because it has to be unique to the character. It shouldn't be something like Street Fighter 6 where you're like, oh man, low forward drive rush, oh, stand fierce drive rush, blah, 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 blah. It has to be unique to the character. When I have made my imaginary Street Fighter game, everyone uses the system, and we're going to go through other characters too, in a unique way, right? So say Ryu hits this red fireball, right? Hit the red fireball, just making sure I'm still recording. Hit the red fireball, the guy's standing. Well, that means guess what? Well, now I can do actually, my rush fierce is a unique normal. Again, I can't cancel this animation with anything that is not unique inherently to my character, right? So that means I could do boom, rush fierce, boom, boom, do another rush fierce into a hurricane kick combo, right? Huh. Let's look at another unique thing that you could use this for that you might be surprised about, right? One of the things I think I love about games is interesting conversions, and it shows that you're using the system in an interesting way. Let's say Ryu's shooting a fireball, right? And the guy's jumping over it. Well, let's say Ryu's threw a slow fireball, though, and he gets hit by it, right? Well, what does Ryu do in this situation? I don't have a super, so say super fireball juggles, right? So he got hit by it, and I'm like, well, I don't have a super. Well, what can I do? I still have some of my versatile EX meter, right? So what I could do is I could hurricane kick in. Hurricane kick won't juggle, but then right when I get to the body, I do this boom, hit my controller for this little cancel thing. Then I cancel it to hurricane kick. That hurricane kick, because I canceled it with this and it'll have some shadows on it, that means it juggles now. And now the guy pops up and I get one freebie of a special move that normally doesn't juggle, right? Well, there we go. That means I can do a dragon punch. That would be a pretty interesting conversion, right? Expensive though, because remember, this is something that, even if you got to like say round 3, even if you got to round 3 and you never used any of your versatile meter, you could only do something like this twice in a match, right? Because I want it to be special. I want it to be those hype sort of moments. Those like, whoa, what a conversion that he saved his meter for that. Like, or whoa, what a crazy dizzy combo he saved for his meter that. Or whoa, he isn't using his meter. Even that would be interesting. Let's say this. What is something I talked about Ryu's target combo that I would do, right? So say for Ryu's target combo, I would say that counts as something special. So say I jump over a fireball. Round start, Ken did a jump fireball. Or a fireball, I jump over it. I do a jump fierce. Well, got to remember, I'm far away from the guy now. So now that means that I'm going to get a far normal. And what is one of the ways that I said that I would actually make Ryu's target combo finally useful? I said you could whiff cancel it and putting it in a system like this, whiff cancel it, put it in a system like this. And I would say the last hit is actually you can cancel with an EX move, right? So Ryu jumps in fierce, stand roundhouse, boom, cancels it with an EX bar, boom, thrust kick, dragon punch. Or because it counts as a fucking unique move, imagine this situation. Ken throws a fireball, round start, jump in, fierce, roundhouse. Cancel it because this counts into this, like the little status or the little stance, whatever. Cancel it with a unique normal, right? Boom, rush fierce, strong, forward, hurricane kick. Or maybe he's got something like this, Imagine Ryu, he's going to waste everything. He wastes everything. He's going bigger, big home. Maybe Ryu's got this huge combo. Boom, jump in fierce, roundhouse, cancel, rush fierce, medium, EX thrust kick, because that's another meter, right? Bounces off the wall, dragon punch. What is one of the things I said? Level 3s are one of the only thing that, doesn't actually cost the EX bar. If you just do a special to a super, if it's a level 1, it costs the EX bar. But level 3s to keep them, special, that hits. Maybe that's Ryu's instant kill combo. Now, of course, it cost him 3 bars and it cost him 2 supers. But again, I don't care if there's instant kill combos if I was playing a game because it's expensive, right? So again, I like the idea of there being instant kill combos. I like the idea of there being instant dizzy combos. I'm just trying to make them unique to the character and have them actually tied to the meter that there's some sort of mind game, right? And again, maybe Ryu doesn't get this kind of thing because maybe this does a huge amount of damage. Ryu's auto combo, when you do this, the target combo, there's no damage buffer on it. So this actually can just straight up kill the guy. But say if Ryu jumped in and he was a little bit too close and then he gets a close normal, well, guess what? Well, now that's not going to be the same because if we were to do something like this, maybe say Ryu jumped in over a fireball in like an example like this where I did a rush fierce, maybe rush fierce in my game has a fucking damage buffer. So you could do a similar combo to it like that, but it won't be an instant kill. So it gives you sort of like, interesting interactions. It teaches you to like learn different spacing for different things. Speaking of spacing, imagine I do dragon punch or a red fireball. Let's say I cancel it and I wait for the guy to pop up and I cancel this animation just in a way that it hits this meaty. And because it hits this meaty, although normally I can only get a jab, this hit just meaty enough that now instead of linking the jab off of it, I can link the, say, target combo. Now, of course, normally you would say that fierce is your one freebie hit. But again, if I was making a game, I would say target combos, your auto combo actually counts as a singular move. Again, I can't code a game, but I would tell whoever was coding the game for me to code it like that. Code it so it's like this, so this counts as a singular move. So boom, now this whole sequence combos, right? Then I cancel that because you can EX cancel it, cancel with a EX hurricane kick, then jump up, medium punch, back and forth mix up. Pretty cool, right? This isn't just for Ryu though. I've thought about other characters as well. This is how nerdy we're getting. Even if we're using an example like, say, Guile, let's say, because we're thinking about a classic sort of Street Fighter game. Fireball War. Guile wins the Fireball War. He recovers in time. So guess what? He cancels with a backhand, right? Well, backhand, because it's forward fierce, it counts as a unique normal. Guess what? Now I can cancel this. I can use this little special system, cancel it. I whiff, let's say, because the guy flies back, I whiff the knee bazooka, right? Now, let's say because I whiffed the knee bazooka, let's say if we're coding the game, let's say, who knows, maybe whenever you're like hitting these sort of like cancel codes, whatever like that it puts a damage buffer on the attack. Well, in this situation, Guile, he whiffs the knee bazooka. So he just stands, he lands, and then the guy is still stunned, and he links a duck medium punch to a flash kick for full damage because now there's no damage buffer on it. Maybe if Ryu's trying to fireball his way out of a corner and Guile hits this, guess what? He canceled to this, and something I've said before for charge characters, when you're in this animation, just like when you do custom combos or something like that, there's no charge time. So Guile cancels it, back forth real quick, fireball. Maybe there's a special property or something like that because it does like a counter hit stun. And it hits just in a way that allows Guile to then jump in with a fierce to fierce sonic boom, whatever combo. There's a unique way. He's using the system in a unique way that only he can use it, not every other character. You don't think Zangief could use this? Let's look at an example like Zangief. Let's say Ryu's in the corner. Ryu's afraid that Zangief is going to do his, a tick throw, whatever, like that. So he hurricane kicks, but Zangief was expecting it. If you've ever played Super Turbo, you know what I'm talking about. So Zangief counters the hurricane kick with the lariat, but guess what? When he counters with the lariat, he can then cancel to green hand, then it juggles. Now you might say, oh, well, I guess I could do then a lariat or a, green hand, whatever. But why not just, because every move now has that one asterisk point of a juggle that normally doesn't juggle, guess what? So Zangief lariats. He lariats again, whatever it might be, and it pops Ryu up, right? And it gives Zangief just enough time to jump up and do his dizzy headbutt. You've given Zangief a unique way to use the system and a unique way to use this move that you don't see very often, right? I mean, how often do you see this? I mean, I'm sure most people, if they've played old Street Fighter, they know that Zangief's jump neutral fierce, dizzies you, depending on the version of the game. I think it's the Japanese version automatically dizzies you. American version, it like does 1 point before dizzying you, whatever it is, but That's a pretty unique thing for Zangief, isn't it? He's using the system in a unique way, and it's giving love to this move that is kind of a novelty. Now you're giving it a little bit more usage, right? Just like I've said before when I've made the videos before, say Zangief, he's doing a combo. He does a medium to a green hand. He does his little 2-bar thing. He does a green hand. Well, guess what? Just like in, say, when you're doing a custom combo or some shit like that, maybe when you do a ground hit, the move has a special property. So he can do the green hand, and the guy, say he becomes back turned like Street Fighter 3, which then means Zangief can do a grab and the grab combos. I mean, I'm not against that. What about in neutral? We all know Zangief doing lariats through fireballs, whatever like that. Well, this is one of those things where I've said before that I would have two different ways you could do it. It could be a little kick and a little punch, or it could be, medium punch and a medium kick, whatever it is. Whatever happens that you would design it like that. One that screen freezes, so it's a little bit easier if you're doing a combo. And one that just, there's no screen freeze, but it's quick. So then you'd have to like move your finger. So maybe Zangief, he does a spinning pile driver motion with little kick, let's say if it is, and little punch at the same time. And so normally, of course, we know Zangief, he's lariating through a fireball, and then hopefully he recovers in time to throw the guy or whatever he wants to do. But in this situation, he whiff cancels it quick because he cancels with the animation. And there's no screen freeze, so it doesn't give me, the dude that's fireballing, say a time to recover or something like that. But it's just quick, and then Zangief can cancel that quickly and grab the guy. Again, expensive, but they're a unique way for him to use it. You know, another unique thing that Zangief could do? I think this is in, it's in Alpha 2 Gold he can do this. I know it's Hyper Alpha and Alpha 2 Gold. Correct me if I'm wrong. Some of Zangief's throws, when he like hits the guy, he can actually do a super and grab the guy. Well, guess what? What if I was just grabbing the guy Ryu pops up, right? Well, then I'm going to whiff. Well, I can't normally do any special move that juggles because Zangief doesn't have any move that juggles you. So Zangief does his grab throw. I whiff my spinning power or my clothesline. I quickly cancel it with my little meter. And then guess what? I boom. Then I hit with this and that juggles. And guess what? Because that juggled and it popped the guy up in the air, I still get one freebie of a juggle thing. Well, guess what? I can do my dizzy headbutt if it hits the guy in the corner. That's pretty, I would say that's a pretty unique. Zangief is not using the system in the same way as Ryu. Just like Guile. Guile could technically do this. Say Guile throws you. Guile throws you. He does his like, boom. Look at that. Look at this. Boom. He does a little German suplex, dragon suplex thing, right? Look at that guy. Boom. Right on top of their noggin. The guy starts to bounce away. He whiff cancels this real quick with a little bit of bar. And he goes back in with a knee bazooka. Maybe he hits the guy. Boom, he gets to the guy, and then, well, we know one move can juggle, so flash kick, all right? Everyone using the system in a unique way. And I actually went over this. I talked about it earlier, what I do for Ryu's jump, medium punch. We talked about that. Let's talk about another thing. What if we're playing Ken? Because I've talked so much about Ken or Ryu. What would I do for, an example like this. Why is this important, right? Because we're talking about Ryu. So just to show this, again, talking about whiffing things. So Ryu, he gets jump, medium punch. First hit launches the guy. If they try to do it again, EX Hurricane Kick, something like that. Well, Ken normally doesn't have moves to juggle. So say Ken, he hits the guy with the air-to-air jump fierce, cancels the Hurricane Kick. Obviously, it doesn't juggle. But for 2 bars, I could do that little cancel immediately into another Hurricane Kick, and guess what? And then it juggles. And something I've said that I would do for Ken, I would make this move, put the guy in a juggle state, his crazy kick roundhouse, and then I would give just his fierce DP, the last hit of it, a single juggle point if the guy is hit by a move that launches with him. Because I think that's cool. That's something I would do. So there's a weird little conversion that Ken could do. Speaking of that, because speaking of interesting conversions, like that Ryu example I gave, Ken does a fireball. Guy jumps over it. He gets hit by the slow fireball because he misjudged. Well, then Ken tacks on a jump or fierce Shoryuken, right? Hits the guy. He then cancels it with this. Well, then that's going to juggle. So Hurricane Kick. Boom. The guy flies down. Well, then guess what? Now one move can juggle. This move normally doesn't juggle, but now it juggles. Boom. Roundhouse Crazy Kick. Boom. Then tack on the guy with the fierce Shuriken. Maybe that was almost a full entire corner to carry thing. Weird little scenario, right? What about an example like this, right? Talking about this could also give moves special power. Say Ryu, he juggles you or he throws you, right? Now, if you know in Street Fighter 3, Ryu has that weird little thing of how versus, what is it? I think I know it's versus Dudley in Street Fighter 3, and I dare say Second Impact, he can do it versus Hugo too. Correct me if I'm wrong. For some reason, I feel like, could he do it versus Hugo as well in Second Impact, but Third Strike, it only works versus Dudley? Anyway, I digress. So say a little bit of love on that. Say Ryu, this is expensive. Say Ryu throws the guy in the corner. I do a Shoryuken. Well, guess what? Normally, Shin, his level 3 Dragon Punch doesn't juggle. But guess what? If it hits the guy, if he throws the guy, cancels this really kick into a whiff animation, then he can hit and juggle off the ground with the Shin Shoryuken. And because the Shin, if I was making the Super Dragon Punch, I actually like the idea. I know this might sound kind of weird. I actually don't really care for being able to juggle after the Super Dragon Punch. It's kind of boring to me. But let's say, because if I was making it, I like just the original CVS1 huge damage Super Dragon Punch. For me personally, I just think that's cooler. But, your mileage may vary. But let's say because we did this, well, guess what? Now, because Ryu did this, he hit with the Super Dragon Punch that juggles. Now, although Super Dragon Punch normally in my game is just one big, huge damaging move, Well, guess what? Now when you do it like this, now I can actually juggle after the Shinsho. Right? So you might think about, well, what happens to certain characters, because maybe this makes Ryu, if you're making things safe, because now Ryu can make a Dragon Punch if you're thinking about something like Street Fighter 4. People get pissed when you make special moves safe, because Ryu, geez, I don't even have to cancel it. I can cancel with another special move. I can cancel with like my Rush Fierce to keep pressure, all that kind of stuff too. This is why one of those things, well, guess what? Guy does a Hurricane Kick, right? Well, he doesn't have any special moves in the air, but I do have Elbow Drop. So Hurricane Kick, cancel, elbow drop, come down on the guy. Just like this gives something like this. Again, this is one of these things why you wouldn't want this to be a cancel animation, or you wouldn't want this to be like you wouldn't want the screen to freeze when you would do this, because if he's coming down on you, you'd want it to be fast, right? You don't want there to be any delay. Just like I've said before, if you've ever played the original Capcom Fighting Jam, they gave Guy this interesting kick, and I've talked about how I would do it before, where after his backflip kick, he could rush forward with this kick, and then it could, juggle the guy, and it was interesting. But one of the problems with the move is that the move has like a really bad hitbox, and everybody could duck it, right? So it's kind of hard to actually make the guy respect it. So one of the things I said that I was going to do if I was going to make the game is, just like old school Street Fighter, special moves, unique moves, anything like that, you can actually bounce off the wall when you do it, like the original Street Fighter 2. So this would give, if the opponent is ducking, Guy does this and he flies over their head, well, at least I can hop off the back of the wall now, right? So it gives the opponent a little bit of a, incentive to block it instead of like dealing with this mix-up. Or again, because of that, this cancel thing, because this counts as a unique move, now I wouldn't want to do it with the slow cancel because the guy would be able to react to it if I come down with an overhead. But again, let's say I'm like sliding my fingers across the arcade sticker controller, come down quick on the guy, overhead. You've given Guy a weird little mix-up, a very fucking expensive mix-up, but something that's there. Just like if Chun-Li was doing a spinning bird kick and you can just duck it. Well, technically, I can just do this really fast cancel and head stomp the guy, which they might, not be expecting. But maybe they are expecting it, so now they're actually going to respect the spinning bird kick, and they're going to take all that block damage now because they're respecting it. Just like, say, another thing I've talked about before, something I would do to try to make this a little unique as well is when you do, and let's say if Guy was doing a auto combo, his Bushin combo, or his overhead attack, right? Something that I would do is, because it costs 2 bars, I would also say that while you do the 2-bar cancel, you can also cancel it with your EX move for, it doesn't actually cost like 3 bars. It just costs 2. Now, would every character be able to use this? Some characters, it doesn't make any sense, because why would Ryu up here? Why would he waste it on like a thrust kick when he can just cancel it to a Rush Fierce? That doesn't make any sense. But let's say if we have some situations where, let's say a character like Guy, well, I hit you with an overhead. Well, now I'm going to cancel it to my EX run. And if you've read about how I would do with the EX run, I would let him the EX run has some different unique ways out of it. He can do the Final Fight 3 run where he combos out of it. So that might be a situation where that might be useful. Just like if we're giving an example like here. Say something strange like this. Again, there's some moves where I've said before that Guile can do a backhand, and that's actually an EX cancelable move, right? He can cancel it with his little Sonic Hurricane thing. What is this thing? It's like a static thing and they fires. But again, if you have 2 bars, right? Maybe in certain situations, this is more damaging. Maybe a situation where, again, talking about the EX move that you might want to EX move, say Charlie's overhead attack. Very slow if we're talking about Alpha 1 and Alpha 2, and he doesn't really get anything off of it. So he could cancel it with this, right? But unless you actually put in the property that you can do an EX move, again, I've said before, I would give Charlie his reverse air flash kick thing to come down as an overhead. Another overhead as an EX move if I was making Charlie. So that gives him a reason to do that, right? Let's say Guile in this kind of situation, why would this be useful? Let's say you're doing Guile's super flash kick and it's blocked. The guy baited you, he safe jumped you, and you did a super flash kick. Well, guess what? Well, when you think about Guile, in this situation, right, it would probably be better if the EX move also counted as just part of the 2 bars when you do a cancel like this. If we're talking about the CVS2 cancel, right? So again, the CVS2 cancel, again, this is a CVS2 cancel. So it actually only would take just 1 period, but it's still the screen freeze of like if we were doing the other cancel, right? Maybe in this situation, this is better to cancel to this, right? Because why would I cancel to another, just a sonic boom or just another flash kick or maybe a knee bazooka when I could actually then do this move to kind of sort of reset the match, right? And again, there could be examples of maybe my super flash kick hit, something like that. Well, again, CVS2 cancel. Again, it's the same idea as using 2 bars, but it only costs 1 bar when you do it, or the EX bar when you do it like this. Maybe in this situation, the guy pops up so high, I can actually hit, again, if you watch my Guile video, what I would do, he can get a little baby Sonic Hurricane kick to actually combo off of that. Another interesting thing. God, this video is probably a half hour long almost. We're almost done though. What is something that is always so fun that I'm sad that we haven't been able to see again is Ken's egg beater hurricane kick. There's not a lot of actual real ways to combo into it if the guy isn't dizzy. But there are certain characters where if you hit the guy right after a cross up, like I've showed in my videos before, that you can do an egg beater hurricane kick and you fly over them and it hits them and you can actually juggle off, or you can link off of it, right? Well, let's remember, and this is where something interesting about old school Street Fighter and showing how just putting a unique system on a old kind of game can give you really interesting, interactions, all that kind of stuff. So if you ever played old school Street Fighter 2, you know that when Ken does his Flaming Dragon Punch, the first hit actually forces you to duck. Because unlike other special moves, where most special moves, they force the guy to stand, even if they were ducking, right? Even if they're ducking, if you get by a special move in old school Street Fighter. But fire moves keep the state that you're in. So how do we add these 2 little properties together? Well, guess what? Ken does a Flaming Dragon Punch. Well, guess what? It makes them duck, right? Then you cancel for your 2 bars, right? And I said I would give Ken the egg beater hurricane kick. So guess what? Then Ken egg beater hurricane kicks. He flies over the person's body just like this. Boom, 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 boom. Egg beater hurricane kick. Then you link a stand fierce off of it. Then I said before, I would make this move a launcher move because the guy's standing then, right? Because again, they're going to be standing since they got hit by a hurricane kick. Their sprite going back and forth, right? Then I can juggle with that. Or maybe I want to cancel the fierce, do that crazy kick, knee, overhead, link to the sweep. Do you see we've actually somehow just made the egg beater hurricane kick a move that you basically barely ever saw in Championship Edition, but they took it out because, again, if you actually did dizzy the guy, he had really easy re-dizzies with it, but it is what it is, right? But now we're actually giving it a sort of unique way to actually go into it. And, excuse me, I wouldn't have this work versus everybody, you know what I mean? Because, their sprite would be smaller, right? So, but I do think it'd be like maybe, a little bit mid-sized or bigger characters, this would work. And I'd be like, whoa, that's a really fucking cool way to use the system. And maybe that's a way that Ken just automatically dizzies you if that hits you, right? Just like, oh, and of course, if you have another thing that you might potentially be wondering, right? But what happens if you cancel into this system? What about moves that just do a lot of hits and juggles, right? So again, let's say there's a situation where, say, Ken does a fireball, guy jumps over it wrongly, incorrectly, they get hit by the fireball, and then I smack dab them with the dragon punch because this juggles, and I cancel. And then you're like, well, you do a hurricane kick. And you're like, well, does the singular hurricane kick hit for 4 or 5 times? Because you might be asking me, I've used a lot of like one-hit examples. And honestly, I would just program it since the character is in a special state, right? Since the character, they're in their special state, whatever. When you cancel this move, it would have to just be probably programmed that whatever move you're doing out of it, it is just specifically programmed to hit in a certain way. Maybe Ken's hurricane kick, you can't have it do full damage because you don't want it to hit 4 or 5 times as a juggle because it normally doesn't do that. Maybe, Chun-Li does a lightning leg kick. She finds some kind of juggle. You obviously don't want Chun-Li to do all that crazy damage juggling because that's not normal. So you'd have to basically property each move specifically when they're into this animation. And then once the guy gets hit, of course, then there's only just one period of a move can hit. But just in case you're wondering if you're thinking about it on a deeper level that there might be a problem, that's how I would program the game if I had any programming ability, right? And then finally, again, just going back, what I said before, I think you could actually have unique interactions like, normally Ryu's Super Dragon Punch, one big hit move, but if you cancel it like this, maybe there's like little fun little secrets, and you're like, oh shit, normally you can't combo after Ryu's Shinsho whatsoever, but now I can. Oh, normally, throws don't combo in the game, but if I do like this, now I can. Oh, normally I just do a new unique normal. Oh, well, maybe there's a special extra counter hit property of this move when you cancel it out of the state, right? Oh, maybe I do the EX move out of this again like this. Oh, maybe now the Sonic Hurricane can juggle like this. So anyway, point is, oh my God, probably this might be one of the longest videos I've ever done. 40 minutes. Is anyone going to watch this? I don't know. But those are examples of how I would change Street Fighter if I was doing it, right? Giving it a unique system that no character uses the same. Every character uses it in a unique way. And that's what you actually need for games, right? Anyway, if you like the videos, like, sub, comment, share, support the channel if you want. Appreciate it. Thanks. The end.